Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you a few ideas for gaming channels and what good examples you can use to study so that you can make a good channel and model after what works best. So the first thing you can do is check out boss fight channels. So this is one that's done very well for a few channels. I don't see a whole lot of competition really as far as YouTube channels that specialize in boss fights. Of course, some YouTube channels are very broad audience and they actually do boss fights and stuff, but that might not be their main thing. Boss Fight Database is an example of one you can look at that has 729,000 plus subscribers that you can actually use as a great example to model after if you are really good at certain types of games like RPGs where you actually battle very big bosses and stuff. You'll see games like The Last of Us, you see like Sekiro, Dark Souls games, you see Monster Hunter, Final Fantasy, and all sorts of stuff on here. So I encourage you to check that one out if you are really good at these types of games, and you can build these videos around that. Each video for each boss fight, you can combine boss fights into one video for the entire game. They do the same thing as well, and they don't even do commentary or anything, and yet they have 700,000+ subscribers. Another thing you can do is compilations and clips. Now, a lot of people think you have to get compilations and turn your clips into that, but you can actually just post individual clips, even though they're like 30 seconds or a minute long or something, and then you can have a compilation as well. So you can turn it into 2, 3, 10 times as many videos by doing it that way. And what you can do is record some clips after you've done things, or you can stream while gaming, just doing a regular session, and then you can turn that into short clips, post them on social media. A lot of times short clips do really well on things like Instagram and Twitter, and then you can post them on YouTube for individual things if people just want to watch some short entertainment of funny things or crazy things that happen, and then you can make compilations that are built around a theme. So one channel that does this very well that I recommend you check out is Red Arcade if you're into this concept. Clips can be from all sorts of games, of course, but a lot of times they do compilations, and then they also have a page where you submit your clips. So they actually have the rights to use these because they have a place where people submit that, and they will usually fill out something or give them the rights to use those in a compilation, so it's more legal that way. So you can also reach out to streamers on Twitch and get their permission. Usually you want to give them credit maybe in the corner of the clip for each gamer, and then they might be really on board with that because it'll help them get more fans. Another thing you can do is Let's Play videos. So if you're just an entertaining person or you have a group of friends you like to play video games with, you can check out something like Oni Plays. This is one that does very well, 780,000+ subscribers, and you have basically all sorts of games that they play. They make fun of certain games as they play it, or they talk about what they like or don't like, or they goof around and talk about crazy things that are happening in their lives. It's just kind of hanging out with somebody, watching them play video games. So Oni Plays is a great example of one you can study for that, and they have a lot of different videos that do pretty well. Another type of channel that's doing really well right now in general is reaction channels. So for whatever reason, a lot of these actually make good money and don't get their content taken down, even though it seems like they would have some copyright problems. But with gaming, there's not as much of a problem as it is like a reaction to a music video or something where it's very strict about how you use it. But with gaming, you can pretty much use footage as you're playing because you're the one playing and creating your own footage using the game. So what this does is, of course, promote the games and also allows you to be entertaining and react to all sorts of crazy things that can happen in these games. So PewDiePie, of course, is one of the most famous people of all time on YouTube, and he has kind of built a brand around this. Now, obviously, he does like news and funny reactions to like what people are saying about him, and he does a lot of like vlog type stuff on top of this now, but the core of his channel is like playing horror games and playing, morbid games and stuff, and then having really funny and comedic reactions to them. So check that out. See what, if you feel like you're someone who is very charismatic and like to play video games, that'd be a good one to just look at and see what he does. And look at other ways that he monetizes his channel with merch sales, with this join button right here. You might look and see what exclusive content he gives to members and things like that. Another type of channel that I've seen do fairly well and, kind of avoid a lot of competition is channels dedicated to team and character builds and just being good at the game, like advice on being good at the game, and maybe a breakdown of the numbers, that what leads to a victory in this game, and that kind of thing. So helping people get good at a game or to build a team or character is something that a lot of people look for, and it can be a great way to go small niche, which is always a smart way to go because you have less competition, and then you can broaden your spectrum out later on as you become successful. One example of this is Hack the Minotaur. So what they do is they do builds for certain types of games, especially one called ESO, which is like an MMO type game, but they have, very good numbers. Obviously, they don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but for a 50,000 or so subscriber channel, the fact that they get, tens of thousands or 100,000 views or so in that range on most of their videos, like 50 to 100,000, that's a really good range to be at for the amount of subscribers they have. So they're doing pretty well. It looks like they have a little membership type thing that they sell as well. So they might make pretty good money actually, even though they're not necessarily a big YouTube channel. So I would check out something like that. Again, you can specialize in individual games. You can even do multiple channels across different games, or you can specialize in a type of game. Another thing you could do is crazy challenges. So you see more and more of these gamers, especially on the more popular games, they're trying to find ways to keep getting content on games that maybe have been around a while. So you have people on maybe Grand Theft Auto or certain Pokemon games or certain Dark Souls games, or all these different games out here that are around all the time. They're like fan favorites, and they will play these games and find new ways to make them challenging, or find new ways to get people to keep caring about these games. So like one example is Faraz Khan. So what he does is he usually plays certain types of games that are like Sekiro, Dark Souls, things like that, and he will try to beat a world record of beating the game in a certain amount of time, or beating a game with certain conditions, like maybe you can't die at all and still beat the game, or maybe not get hit at all while beating a certain type of game. So check this channel out if you want to see what it's like to do a challenge channel. This is best if you are really, really good at a certain type of game, especially a certain type of game that keeps coming out with new versions, so that people don't get bored of playing a game that was made 20 years ago or something. So if it's a type of game that keeps the same controls and mechanics for the most part, and they keep coming out with a new game every few years, and you're just really, really, really good at that one game, you can do these types of challenge channels. Another type of channel you can do is like lore explainers. Now it doesn't have to be, lore. A lot of times you think of like medieval games and legends and stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to be that kind of game. You can just explain the story of certain games that might be kind of complicated. So there are a lot of games like this. One channel that does this very well as far as just the presentation and the quality is called Vati Vidya, I believe that's how you pronounce it. 1.58 million subscribers. Check them out if you want to do this type of channel where basically a lot of stuff and you take the time to really study the dialogue of each part of a game, and then you really know the story, the different endings that you can get for different games. Certain games, of course, have multiple endings. And then this is the type of channel that does very well just explaining this type of stuff. So it helps people understand the story and the background and the world building of these games. Number 8, of course, you have news channels. This is going to be good for any industry, but gaming news is one that you can study. Something like Games Radar. They tend to do very well in this area. They also have a blog and some other forms of media, but they have 600,000+ subscribers, which is solid. And they get pretty good views. They do a lot of videos per day. They don't just do like one video every week or something like some of these do and then just spend ridiculous amounts of time on it. Instead, they have a lot of volume because they're trying to keep up with so many games and news about updates, trailers, new games coming out, reveals, rumors, all this type of stuff. So if you just like talking about games that might come out and the potential of them, updates, that kind of stuff, then you can do something like Games Radar does and just study all the latest news. Maybe you compile some sort of, way of keeping track of all the news. Maybe you build like certain social media accounts where it's just all gaming news from all the best sources, and then you do videos about that. There's a lot of ways you can go, but you'll never run out of stuff to talk about this way. Obviously, you also have reviews. This is another like core type of channel that can be applied to pretty much any category or industry. So IGN, of course, is like one of the better channels at doing this because they've just done this for so long. They have 13.7+ million subscribers. And if you go to IGN Game Reviews, they have a playlist of 1.4 thousand videos about different video games and their reviews. They have certain type of criteria that they go for. They have certain types of reviewers that, you might agree with a certain reviewer more than others. You might have similar taste to a certain reviewer more than others. So you might want to create a review channel where you have a certain criteria that a lot of people really like your way of looking at things. They like the way you break down, like, this is why I give it this score, this is why I give it this score in this area. These are the different things I look for in the quality of a certain type of game. You can specialize in a category of game or all games or, a series, whatever. There's a lot of ways you can go. A lot of people will watch for a certain style, a certain criteria, or a certain type of game. So IGN's a great example of that, of how to do a quality job with these types of channels. You also have gaming parodies. This is going to require more of an artistic ability with animation and stuff like that, but some people actually create these videos that are like, maybe they'll explain the story, or they'll do a funny spin on something, or they'll really like over exaggerate certain aspects of certain characters and make funny stories out of that. But it's basically an animation channel using video game characters that everybody knows. So like, for instance, I used Dark Souls as an example earlier, but they have one from a channel called Jameserton. Now, I don't know if they even create new stuff anymore, but from the very few videos he had, he was getting tens of millions of views on a lot of them, and usually they were some sort of video game parody. I believe he did some, Mario type stuff, but he also did things like Dark Souls, like Happy Souls. It's a 15-minute video. This is the type of stuff YouTube loves for their algorithm because it's a long video, it's a long story, it's very well animated, so people will probably be pretty likely to watch to the end if they stick around for the first 30 seconds. So it will do well with ad revenue, and it will probably rank very easily because you're also using titles for certain characters and certain games to rank for. So you create a story, you create some sort of animation using video game characters as a parody. Oni cartoons is another example of this. Be careful watching these with your kids, but they do very well. Oni doesn't really do this as much anymore. He does Oni Plays, which I talked about earlier, in the, like, Let's Play style videos. But some of these, they would do parodies of cartoons, or they would do parodies of, movies like Harry Potter or the Avengers or something. But they also did stuff like related to video games. You look at like Left 4 Dead is a popular one. You have Final Fantasy is a popular one, Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. Last but not least, you have gaming movies. This is something you may or may not have even heard of. This is just kind of an idea I had one time that I looked it up to see if anybody was actually doing this. It would be very hard to produce this, but if you could do a good job, you could make a lot of money from ad revenue, from merch and stuff like that. So what you basically do is you take characters in games where you have a lot of freedom, like Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption or something like that. Usually like an open world type game, maybe with a lot of characters, or you can create characters or lots of dialogue, lots of places to go. And you basically create a movie, and these are the characters. These are the visuals from the actual gameplay. So you can look up GTA movies. A lot of people have actually done this. I haven't seen a lot of channels that just specialize in just this so far, but some of these channels that are doing these videos you might check out, like Vuko 100 or something like that, and see if they have multiple types of movies. Some of these, they started out doing movies of GTA 5 and stuff, and then they went on and did other things and kind of tanked their channel. But you have Bad Boys in GTA, A Day in the Life of Franklin, GTA 5 movie, Captured, GTA 5 movie. You could literally take the plot that is similar to a real life movie that you've seen and then try to do the same type of thing and Grand Theft Auto, with Grand Theft Auto being the characters instead of having like actors and stuff. So these are a few different YouTube channel ideas that tend to do pretty well, and hopefully this was helpful in finding the channel that you want to do and finding examples of what to model after, and I'll see you in the next video.